All right, so let's now go through some other commands that allow you to copy, move, and remove files and directories. So basically, we will see three different commands: the cp command, the mv command, and the rm command. The cp allows you to copy files and directories, of course. The move command allow you to move or rename files and directories, and the rm allows you to remove files and directories. The structure of the cp command is cp, the path from which we would like to copy, or the file that we want to copy, and the path to. So it's the basically the origin of the file and the destination where we want to copy the file. So the simplest form of cp is again cp file1 space file2. So what this command will do is that it's going to copy the content of file1 given as a first argument into file2. If file2 does not exist, the cp will create file2 and copy the content of file1 into that file newly created. If file2 already exists, the cp is going to overwrite the content of the file and replace it by the content of file1. So if you would like to copy one file to a given directory, you can do that. And it works by specifying after cp the file name you would like to copy, and then the path of the directory into which you would like to copy the file, and it's going to create an exact copy of the file or the directory of this if this first argument specified is a directory, into the specified destination directory. You can also use cp with an interactive mode by adding the option -i. If you add the option -i, basically it does the same thing as the previous command, but instead of overwriting file2 if it's already existing, it's going to ask you, it's going to notify you that file2 is going to be replaced by the content of file1, and it's going to and you can say yes or no if you don't want to overwrite file2. If you would like to copy the content of a directory, of course, we said that you can use cp specifying the directory, the name of the directory you would like to copy, and then the destination directory. If you would like to copy a directory that does already contain subdirectories or does already contain files, you can specify the option -R, which is a directory that which is an option that will allow you to copy the content of the directory with it. Of course, if the directory, the destination directory does not exist, it's going to create it. Otherwise, it's going to create a directory named directory1 within the directory that is already existing. So the move command is another very useful command that allows you to move or rename files and directory depending on how you are going to make use of it. So if you type mv followed by two different arguments, what is going to happen is that if the second argument, the file2 exists, the content is going to be silently replaced by the content of file1. Basically, it's gonna do the exact same thing as the as the cp command did previously. You can also use the interactive mode, adding the -i as we did for the cp command as well, and it's going to notify you before overwriting file 2. If you would like to move a file to another directory, you can use mv and then file and then specify the directory path as the second argument. If you would like to move different files or directories to another directory, you can specify many arguments. Like here, for example, you can specify file 1, file 2, and file 3. So you decide to move on the same time file 1, file 2, and file 3 to the directory that you specify here as a destination. And again, you can also move one directory to another if you do specify as a first argument a directory and another directory as a second argument. So the difference between cp and mv is that the command cp is going to create a copy. So it's going to keep the first copy at the same place but create another copy. However, the mv command is going to move the file from one place to another. So it's basically the same difference with the copy paste and cut paste when you use the graphical interface. So what you have to remember is that MV allows you to rename files if you use it this way, and it's going to allow you to move files from one directory to another if you specify paths as a second argument. There's also another useful command that allows you to delete files and directories, which is the rm command. So to remove a given file, you can type rm the file name, and if you would like to remove many files, you can type rm file 1 and then file 2. If you would like to remove 10 files, you can type rm and then the name of the different files, or you can also use the wildcards that we are going to see later on. If you would like, same thing as CP and MV, if you would like to add the interactive mode, you can add option -i. And if you would like to delete directories with all their content, you have to specify the -r option. Remember, we saw yesterday that the -r stands for recursive mode. It's going to delete the directory and the content of the directory itself. You have to be very careful with rm, of course, because Linux does not have an undelete command, and once you delete something with rm, it's gone, and you cannot get a copy anymore. You really have to be very careful with it, especially when it comes to the use of the wildcards that can deal with many files on the same time. So before you try rm, especially combined with the wildcards, always check the content of your directory with ls to make sure that you are aware about the content of your directory before deleting it. So before moving to the use of wildcards, I'd like to play a little bit with the commands that we just saw. So I'm going to my terminal again. I'm going to clear my screen to make it easier for you. And I'm going to check where I am right now. I'm in session 1, and in session 1 I have 3 different files. Let's try, for example, to copy the content of file 1 into a new file called file 4. So if I try cp file 1 space file 4 and then type ls again, you can see that file 4 has been created. And if I check the content with more or less or wherever, you can see that the content of file 4 that we just created is a copy of the content of file 1. If we would like to rename a given file, for example, we can use the mv command using the current name, and then space followed by the new name that we would like to give to that file. Let's say we are going to rename test nano, so mv test nano. I used the tab once again to complete the name, and we would like to call it test 3, file 3, let's say. If we type ls, you can see here that we don't have anymore a file called test nano. It has been renamed to file 3. What else? Let's try to copy a file from one folder to another one. So let's try to copy file 4 into session 2. So cp is the command that allows you to copy. File 4 is in my current working directory, so I don't need to specify the path for file 4. Space, I have to now specify the destination to which I would like to copy this file 4. I said that I want to copy it to session 2. So once again, there are two ways. Either you specify the full path, the absolute path, or the relative path to where we are. Let's try to specify the relative path. So to go to session 2, we have to go one level up, which takes us to Linux. And then from Linux, we can access directly session 2. Done. If I check again the content of my session 1, I will still see file 4 because I didn't move it from one directory to another, but I just copied it. And if we check the content of session 2, we will see that file 4 has been added. Let's try to do the same thing with file 2. Look, so right now we have in session 2 only file 1 and file 4, and now we are trying to copy file 2 from our current working directory, which is session 1, to session 2 once again. If I do again ls session 2, I'm going to see that file 2 has been copied into session 2. I'm using the up and down arrows to move into the history of my commands. So see, now the file 2 has been also copied into session 2. Let's try the mv command. We still have file 3 that is not in our session 2. Let's try to move file 3 from session 1 to session 2. So I'm going to type mv file 3 space the destination. It's once again session 2. If I type ls, it's going to display the content of my current working directory, right? So ls should show me the content of session 1. And now you can see that session 1 does not contain file 3 anymore. It's not like the cp command. The mv command is going to remove the copy from the original place and copy it to the destination. Whereas cp just do a copy. It keeps the local copy of the original directory and create another copy to the destination. So if we check the content of session 2 again, we will see that file 3, sorry, that we just copied is located now in session 2. Okay, great. So I'll let you guys play with these commands. Let's try to delete, for example, file 4. So I would like to delete file 4 from session 2. If I type simply rm file 4, it's going to delete it from session 1, but I asked you to delete it from session 2, so we need to specify session 2 in the path. And